Greetings, everyone. I'm Mar. Once again, this is my opinion. As you can tell from the title up there, it is time for another movie review, and this is another anime one. Even though I've been a fan of anime since childhood, on the channel, I haven't really talked a lot about anime films recently. Most of the time, it's been ones that have just come out related to popular series like Demon Slayer, Chainsaw Man, and stuff like that. And of course, a couple years ago, I did review a lot of seasons of different anime. But I feel with having seen this one when it was recently re-released in theaters, I say recently, it was almost 2 months ago now as I'm sitting down to record this, I felt, might as well get around to it, especially since the film has been kicking around in my head. And that, of course, is the experimental post-apocalyptic science fiction film, and it's technically an OVA due to length, and also the fact that it was technically released direct-to-video first before it went into theaters for a little bit in Japan. That, of course, is Angel's Egg, and this is directed by Mamoru Oshii, who, of course, also would direct Ghost in the Shell 1 and 2 many years later, and before this, and also directed the two, I'm going to look up the name because I want to make sure, Urusei Yatsura films, including Beautiful Dreamer, which is one I heard a lot of good things about. Now, if there's an anime film that is a textbook example of film being a very visual medium, it would be this film. While there is dialogue in it, there is music at times, sound effects and all that, a lot of the story is conveyed visually. It's only one part of it which kind of segues into the ending that has dialogue. And because of that, there's only two voice actors in both the English and Japanese version. Now, from what I understand, for this recent re-release of the film in preparation for the 40th anniversary, there was a dub that was released, but me and my friend Tiffany, we saw the Japanese version of it. And even though you guys know my whole thing is I prefer to watch a dub versus sub when possible because it's just my preference. But a film like this, it didn't bother me that much, and that's mainly because this is a very visual film. Now, it takes place in a very primordial land, which does have a little bit of post-apocalyptic in it because you see buildings and all that, but it seems like the world is falling apart for whatever reason. You see people in tanks, you see people walking around, and then we are introduced to this girl that is carrying around this egg for whatever reason. And at the same time, we see this older male walking around. He disembarks from a tank, he's walking, and he happens to catch a glimpse of her, and he follows her. She runs, and she thinks she gets away from him, but he catches up with her, briefly takes the egg from her, and then gives it back and tells her, like, hey, make sure you keep a good grasp on it. Now, eventually, when she falls asleep, he takes the egg and he cracks it. And looking at that, I'm like, oh, that guy's a dick. But given the world that they seem to live in, from what little we see of it, it makes sense he would do this. It's just with the little bit of bonding we saw between the two characters, it's like, oh, that kind of sucks. She does chase after him and then ends up going into some water and she drowns. Now, I know that's a big spoiler, but it kind of ties into the ending because at the end we see that the world that they're on is on the hull of a giant ship. Now, I bring that up now to kind of go back around to talk about the dialogue that the two characters share. Because at one point during the dialogue, the male tells her a variation of the Noah's Ark story. The only difference is once we get to the part of the story where Noah releases the dove, and then the story, everybody knows the dove comes back with the branch, and then when he releases a second time, the dove does not come back. So they all figure, oh, that means the bird has found a place to roost. It means we can all get off now. Yay! In this version of the story, the dove doesn't come back at all, and they are unable to disembark. So they stay on the ark, and it eventually becomes a whole thing of, was the dove even real? Did the dove even exist? Dear God. And at the end, when we see that they're on a ship, it makes you wonder, so are they the descendants of those who went on the ark, and the world is now basically what is on this ship, and everything that was on this ship is what was left there after the flood? But of course, given the size of the city and the size of the ship, it also makes you wonder, what type of world existed before this? It asks a lot of good questions. Has you asking questions as you're leaving the theater with that type of ending. And of course, that goes hand in hand with the whole angel thing that the girl shows him, the angel skeleton, maybe the egg contained an angel, or maybe it just contained another bird. We never know because we don't really see what was inside the egg. You kind of get a little bit of a glimpse, but it doesn't really confirm. And based on the fact that the guy walked away, I'm guessing he probably wasn't satisfied with what he saw. He was probably like, just an egg after all. And of course, I really felt sorry for the girl when she found that the egg was cracked. Now, there's one scene involving people who were living in the city with taking spears and throwing them at the shadows of giant fish, which of course the fish look like coelacanths, so there's a lot of ways you can read that into what's going on this world that is on the giant boat, or ark if we want to call it that. What are these? Are these the shades of animals that died during the Great Deluge? Are these creatures that they try to hunt but they can't successfully hunt? Are they projections? There's a lot of ways you can go about it. It was just a nice way to end it on there. Now, as I mentioned, the director, he did this film before he did his other good work that he's known for, which is Ghost in the Shell, which at the time I'm reviewing this I have not seen, but I am looking forward to watching it, especially since, as of the time I'm recording this, at Anime LA, they had a panel about the production of the dub of that film, and now I'm looking forward to watching it even more. And of course, his 2 Urusei Yatsura films he did before that. The way that those films came out in order makes it seem like those are the ones he did for money, and this is the one he did as a passion project. Which the way that the film is produced, that definitely seems like it is the case there. And looking at the reception real quick, it had a lot of positive reviews. This is what Yoshikazu Yasushiko said. It feels like something new is because it is not merely a montage of disjointed scenes, but a complete world depicted within 80 minutes. Which is true. I mean, you really feel that this world is alive and breathing. And then at the end, you're like, what? Oh! It makes you have... He also compared the art in the film to the modernism in films like Belladonna of Sadness. You know, it's beautiful but dangerous. That definitely sums up the world that they're in. Haruhiko Mikimoto expressed appreciation for the art direction, especially on the characters, the use of silhouettes. And he said that the film brought out the best merit in an OVA, which is letting the creator make what they want to make, and then he felt the quality of the film meant it would not be out of place in a movie theater. And which, of course, based on how I'm praising this film to high heaven, he's definitely accurate on that. I'm looking to see if there's any other ones on here real quick. It looks like Hayao Miyazaki was more critical of the film. It recounts that Toru Horikoshi, who was a producer for Nippon TV at the time, fell asleep watching the film. And then while Michihoko Suwa of Yomiuri TV, and for starters, I'm sorry if I'm butchering a lot of these names. I'm just approved for a TV broadcast. He said he did not understand the film. And this is what Miyazaki himself said regarding the film, that he appreciates the effort, but it is not something others would understand, and that he goes on a one-way journey without thinking of how to get back. That's his whole thing about the director. Now, that is true. Not everybody's going to understand a film. I mean, there's films I like that I know some of my friends don't like, and I'm sure there's films that they like that I don't like, and that other people don't like, vice versa. And there are films that only certain people like. Like in the big group of friends, if I remember correctly, only Effrey likes Future Kill. I haven't seen the film yet, so I can't comment on it, but that's one that comes to mind. Is a very niche one. This could be a film I enjoy that you guys all look at and be like, okay, I don't get it. And Miyazaki saying that, you know, especially, doesn't say when he said this comment, so this could have been 80s Miyazaki, this could have been 90s Miyazaki, but in more recent Miyazaki said that you'd kind of get where he'd be coming from. But even Miyazaki back in the early 90s, you'd be like, oh yeah, he's an expert on this thing. Now, the producer's falling asleep. That kind of strikes me as something a producer would do, because this definitely seems like a film that filmmakers and film goers would enjoy more than a producer. And of course, you all know my thoughts on producers sometimes. I mean, we need them for the money management. Hello, cat. But there are times where they make stupid decisions, like, off the top of my head, I forget what film it was, but it was one of Arnold's films where they wanted to cut out a scene, and his perfect retort for it was, only a studio man would want to cut a scene like that. Like, sometimes it happens. Now, there's not really much else to say about this film. Most of what I can say that stands out is the visuals and some of the sound effects. The music definitely fits the tone and direction the film goes in. If you are a fan of anime, it definitely comes with my recommendation that you at least watch it once. It might be a film that you need to watch more than once, though, to kind of get everything or kind of understand it a little bit. But I think that's more if you want to try to figure out what exactly is going on at a subtextual level. Just an enjoyment, maybe just once. Definitely not a film that everyone will enjoy, if I haven't made that clear in this whole video. I don't know if a DVD or Blu-rays come out yet, but once it does, I definitely plan on adding this to the collection. And definitely want to see how the English dub is if it's on there, because I'm curious to see how that is. But even if they don't release the dub, I'm fine with getting this one on sub just because of how it is. And if it's not kind of clear, this is a different place than what I normally record in. No, this is not a hotel. There's a cat. No, I didn't move again. I'm actually recording this at my girlfriend's place. Probably should have opened up the video with that, but that's the case of this. So I don't know how many videos in a row you might be seeing this, but every now and then you'll probably see me at this locale recording via my iPad. Make it a little bit easier, especially to upload. I'll do it on one device. It's one of our kitties. Yeah, right, Bella. And that's really all there is to say about this video. So, till next time, everybody.